Hello, hello, and welcome to this edition of the Law Firm Blueprint. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Ruade, CEO of FirmFlex, as well as mastermind of the criminal mastermind. Seth, over there, my man, he is back from Chris. He is the traveling man, but I saw you got to have a date night this weekend with your wife, a little post on social. You know I follow you on social. Of course, you can always keep up with social. He is my man, all things SEO and digital marketing, as well as the managing partner of Price Benowitz. Seth Price over there. Seth Jay Price, the Jay Show. That's, I rarely bring that up, but it is kind of crazy.
It is crazy, like my entire life, because Jay as a name and as an initial, yeah. It's used a lot. I mean, even Tyson used to call it Seth Jay, and so it's just funny that I never put two and two together until we started the show.
So how's your week going?
It was going good. Chris was quite an incredible sort of just sensory overload. It was probably the largest B2C gathering of lawyers, period. It was really quite extraordinary. Sort of what Avo would have done, maybe had they continued, but not many people had the balls to do what was presented. It was definitely big picture, people like Schwarzenegger, Mr. Wonderful, just really, got you out of the office, made you think. So I really enjoyed that. And got home and spent some quality time with the kids and my wife. So
so it's interesting that you bring that up, because sometimes just changing where you're sitting can force you to look at things from a different perspective. And I would recommend to everybody in our audience, if you have an office, go and work at a at a WeWork or some sort of other shared space for a day, and think about your, how you approach your office, because you can change up your perspective and really make some things that make a difference to you long term.
I'd go one step further, which is yes, that's awesome. And look, I take this to the nth degree, but that when you get on a plane and you go somewhere, whether it's NTL or any of the few conferences you go to, stuff happens, interactions happen. I spent some quality time with the Jersey boys, both on a personal, professional level. Really was able to, things click, they gel. I mean, I take it to the end. I go way too far, so don't follow that. But I'm a big believer that getting out of the office and being with other like-minded, motivated people, because in our own space, we're putting out fires, we're making money, but like when you leave that world, you're able to sort of think about where you want to be. You see other people doing things and you're like, hey, is this something I want to do? You know what? I don't want to emulate that, but I really like what they're talking about here and I want to consider it.
That brings me to a point, and actually something that I want to talk about in our first segment of the show this week. And it's something that I am actually personally struggling with. You almost are on the opposite section. So it's not really a debate here, but it's something that I think it's important for our audience to listen to. I bootstrapped my firm. I didn't have, like a lot of us, you don't start out with money. We're undercapitalized for the longest time. And I have a tendency to say, hey, if I can get there 80%, 90% of the way, I can do it really cheaply. That's the way to do it. So I have a bias towards doing it as cheaply as possible, not spending the money, and figuring out how to make it work. For my 15.5 example, right? You integrated that. I said I can make this work 90% of the way there with a woohoo form and a weekly scheduled email. I don't have to use some of their services because I just want the basic stuff. So I found a way to do it inexpensively. And that sort of, has been my calling card throughout my whole office. I'm like, how can I do this cheaper? How can I do this less expensive? You, on the other hand, have said, no, I'm going to invest. I'm actually going to spend a little bit more money in certain areas. I'm not saying that you are, and it's actually funny because when we've been out socially, you're like, what's cheaper, Uber or Lyft? And I'm just like, just get the Uber, who cares? So it's sort of like this really weird thing where
that's because I was thinking about it. I am jealous of your ability when you go out. You pick up dinner, not crazily, but you've created a social aura around yourself. And look, it's a blessing and a curse. I'm choosing Uber and Lyft, which might be a $4 difference, and yet I'm spending, $800 a month on a SaaS-based version of a software. You're like, hey, I'll do it myself. Right. But I do love the fact, because in a lot of respects, you're not frugal and you are gregarious and you do things, whether it's Yankee tickets or otherwise, that are awesome and over the top. Whereas I'm the guy waiting for the morning of on StubHub. Can I get a deal?
And well, you'll be able to come to a Yankee game with me next season. Fourth row, all the lobster tail you could eat, that type of thing. And I'll sit in the nosebleeds with you down at a Caps game. Okay, that'll be the trick.
One thing, because David Breton runs that. So again, as I've gotten older, and I think that there are certain things that, look, season tickets are a great example. And look, you're a great example of it. Using season tickets brought you a great stuff. Right. I feel like it's almost like certain things, I'm going off in a different direction, are like a timeshare. Timeshares are not a good investment. But if it forces your family to go on vacation once a year, and I have a lot of friends that do that, they know that February break or spring break or whatever, they know where they're going, or that they're going to go somewhere. To me, that is a huge deal. I am like a points guy. So to me, I have to sort of like get it together and make that happen. Growing up, I grew up in a family where my mom would always shop and research. Many vacations never happened because they were still trying to figure out what the right place, what the best place to go was. And I think to a certain extent, my reaction to that. But coming back to this, I think there's a happy medium. I think the lawman for a long time used his own software for case management. You had been similar on that. I think there are certain areas where if you suck it up, especially when you're smaller, a few licenses is not going to kill you. And I know that you may love building your own software. I just don't see it as a best business practice. You have so many things to worry about. And yes, you might be the one out of 20 amazing people that figure stuff out. Now you got a business selling software. But if you're not, pay the piper, pay what you're supposed to, and then move on. Just like that piece, I can't tell you, like, all of this stuff is only as good as you're using it. And you don't want to be the guy like me who bought a Noon subscription to try to lose some weight and then re-upped it. I didn't re-up it. They re-up it. They sent me an email. Here's your receipt. I'm like, I haven't used it in a year. Please don't charge me this. No, we have to because we already charged it. You can get it off next time. I'm like, no. And look, that was an example of 3 times. So I think there's a benefit to questioning and being frugal because your profit margins are probably better because of that. But I think there's certainly plenty of penny wise and pound foolish to go around.
Yeah, the interesting thing, I mean, we talk a little bit about the reason why we invested and continue to invest in our own software is because when I started scaling, the software didn't exist in the market and there was no clear. So I had put in, $200,000 and $300,000 before all of these other products that ostensibly are better, right? Because they have, a lot more bells and whistles. They have a lot more functionality. But for now, me being as entrenched as I am with all the additions that I've made to it, to transfer over, to go to a new file, go to something like FileVine or go to Clio. I mean, we're talking a couple $100,000 worth of time and effort and get all my people involved in it. And my stuff works.
But okay, I'll challenge you. If you really want to step away, can somebody else be the one who builds and manages this pyramid you created? Or are you a
person in my office now?
Right. When they leave, what happens? And the question is,
so for me, our system is built on FileMaker, which is it's a world-class database product. There are hundreds of thousands of FileMaker developers that can take it over and do it.
And I would argue you're successful despite it, not because of it. And it works, Right. It's expensive because Lord knows these. Well, software used to be. When I opened a mini storage place like 20 years ago, you bought software and you update it every 3 years, right? It was and we were done. Now it's per seat per month. I mean, this stuff is not for the faint of heart. At the same time, it works, and if you can focus on other things in your practice, God bless.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the challenges I know I have personally. People come to me with ideas, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money. Like having a staffer that's an auditor. I found I was resistant for years, but now we have somebody doing it. It's opening eyes. It's making us better. We're finding savings. in other areas because we're paying attention to things. Things aren't falling through the cracks. And so in that respect, I don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish. And so the real question comes down, like, what should you be spending your money on when money is tight?
Well, two things. First, is your sound quality at my end? Yeah. Your sound is funny, so as long as we're good, okay. And look, there are a lot of different ways, and some of the advice depends. Like, should you buy a place versus rent? Right? If you're in a small market, you're not going to expand, and you can afford to buy something. Right. Freaking awesome. My mentors are always like, get the space you need so that you can expand. We're right now at a point with COVID and everything else. First we expanded, then we contract. Now we need to expand again. Now the question is, with everybody outside of DC, we're moving to a suburban footprint. I'm fighting people. I want them to be hotel style, and some of the guys don't want to. They want their freaking desk, and I'm like, well, there's no desk. And anyway, so I think that it is a constant challenge to push back and say, where are you spending money, and making sure that you're not skimping on stuff that can make you money. And look, we all do what we like. You like your software. You like the fact you put on software. So if it brings you some joy and it saves you some money, awesome. The truth is, there's a certain amount of brain power that because you're doing something outside of the box, that if you really wanted to detach, that would make it harder, I believe, than if you had something that is turnkey, where there's another group that's charging you money because they're watching it every month. Right. That said, again, it's, are you putting your money into the things that make you money or that free you up time-wise to do those things? And I think that is a constant piece layered on top of what do you like to do. And if it brings you some joy in the geeked out world we live in, great. But there are times when, I'll give you this story. My dear friend of the family had his own business. He went from a driver in an air conditioning company on a truck to owning the company in New York. And he went to meet us after work one day, and we were at the old Yankee Stadium, and he wanted to meet us. He got there in like the fifth inning, and he's walking around with a $5 bill trying to bribe his way in with one of the ushers at the ticket taking thing, and nobody was biting. He looks over and is like, you could buy a general admission ticket for $6 and just walk right in and not have to wait out there for another inning and maybe get arrested or whatever. Right. The point, there are times when it may be incrementally more, but it's just going to make your life easier and do it. And not that you should be a spendthrift, but know that money can't. One of my sayings, the book that I'm writing a book right now on SEO, but the book that one day we'll write, money solves almost every problem. That said, if you spend too much of it, you don't have profit margin, but knowing that you can, client is furious. This is the worst thing ever. You want a $1,500 credit back? I'm the happiest person ever. Employee, this is terrible. This is terrible. Here's a $5,000 bonus. I'm good. I mean, each of these things play a part. And I think that you're constantly trying to figure out that balance between efficiency and money. And again, if you really don't have the cash, you got to pull back. But if we're talking to an audience of people that are trying to build and grow, that you need to sort of be able to put things in place to allow for that. And part of what circle back to our first topic as we conclude is getting out of the office and hearing what works for people and doesn't work. If 15.5 gets higher engagement, great. You're a force of personality. You may not need that. I know for myself, when I just sent out the WUFU forms, my engagement plummeted. The elegance of the SaaS works at a much better level because at the scale that I've created, I can't go and touch the people to make them do those things.
Gotcha. Well, and the reason why I bring this up about the frugality is that it's the middle of November now. We're coming into December, and December is what I call cut month. And so what I do in the month of December is I actually look at all my providers and I start to see where there are savings. So we'll look at the cell phone plans of the lawyers in the office that have cell phone plans. Back in the day, it was our copier lease and that type of thing. Our internet access.
Back in the day, you still have it. You may not use it as much, still there.
Copier?
Yeah.
We don't have a copier. We haven't had a copier. Oh, no, we got rid of that like 10 years ago. And I can remember everyone saying, you're crazy. Why are you getting, all of my staff were revolting. I said, look, Scan snaps and printers on every desk solves the problem. And essentially printers, I hate, it's terrible for the environment, but printers are at a point now where they're essentially disposable. You need a new one, you just get a new one and you move on. And we've been able to get rid of that expense because I looked at it every year and said, what can we do that was different or better?
Mutual friend John Knoxhazel will tell you, take your top 20% of your top 20%, of your expenses, that very often are 80% of your total spend, and hit those first. Like, it's one thing to say, hey, I could save $1 here or $1 there, but like, where are those really, really large ones?
Big savings. Yeah, absolutely. And so I do that every December. I mean, back when we had a divorce practice, people weren't getting divorced in December necessarily.
Divorce is not in-house?
Not in-house anymore. I've shipped that off. We are really sort of narrowing our niche. I was talking to John about potentially expanding into another state in our niche rather than adding new verticals in our state.
Funny, we just opened up Virginia for family. I'm number 1 ranked. It kills me that I can't scale it easily. It's
because you don't have the people.
Well, and people that with a scaled firm, because there are people that there's some people that are awesome and they just want to be by themselves, and there are people that we right now have a personality in an expanded firm of over 40 lawyers. We have one lawyer he's not communicating. We've tripled down on core values. I for many years would poo-poo it, and because we were trying to fit it into price and this and that. But when we got to when my staff came to me and said, hey, we see 3 that really stand out, right? Which was passion, integrity, and excellence. And as that's been there, it moved from being, we don't even have a plaque on the wall that says it nicely, but we have a guy who's not communicating. And that is, that doesn't fit that's not excellence, right? Like, if you're not communicating, it's not. And so the idea that we're now making both hiring and now, I don't want to say firing, but we are now deciding what to do with people based on it, as opposed to a plaque on the wall that the team, they created it. It's the piece that I love is that, passion, if both of us, whether it's criminal defense, PI, or whatever you're doing, that's what drives us on this stuff, making the core values not a plaque on the wall that's a pleasantry, but something you deeply really believe in, I think goes a long, long way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, that's good on that topic. I have another topic that I want to talk to you about, and this is also a struggle of ours. So it's almost like I'm in therapy today with Seth. And maybe it's my ego that's coming into play, but I look at some of my competitors. They have one office, and they're 500, 600, 700 reviews in their one office. Now I have
criminal defense.
Yeah, this is criminal defense, and I have myself. 2 of my offices are at 100. Another 2 of my offices are at 200. I mean, if I took them all and had them in one location, I'd be over 1,000 easily, probably close to 1,500 among all my offices. And we're, so that's the question. Is it better to focus and have FU numbers on one office, 1,500, 5-star reviews with a 4.9 average versus somebody else who's got, 700? Or is it better to just be at, 300, 400, 500 there and be in the mix, but have multiple offices with that many? So wherever people find you, they see you've got decent numbers. And my competitors are few and far between. Majority of people in the market are 25 to 75. So I am well beyond them pretty much across the board. It's just a couple of competitors that I'm fighting with.
Right. So I would say is, again, a lot of it has to do with what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, I know that's not let's take it back for a second, right? And so when you're dealing with this, I think the piece that's important is, we're not doing it for health, we're doing it to make money. So first we're trying to optimize. I call it money balling, right? So assume these are all legitimate reviews, former clients. Yes. They're not playing any games. Just put that out there. Now the question is, and it's crazy because it's, just like the SEO side is crazy with content where you need a DUI page for every place in Connecticut, but the laws are the same throughout Connecticut. So you have to somehow personalize it but put that aside. That it's almost like a, because it's not like you're a Hilton where, you stayed at this Hilton and there are reviews for this hotel, and there's a Hilton in Albuquerque and there's a different Hilton. Here, it's very amorphous. So that what you're saying is as people touch multiple offices, you have discretion as to where you put it, and I get that. Where you ask for it if you're using SaaS.
Yeah, I have somebody whose job it is to look for reviews,
right.
And she says, "Where should I put them this week?"
Understood.
What link do I direct them to?
Absolutely. So the first thing I'd say, I'm looking at Google. You want to make sure you're doing nothing that looks spammy in any way. Not natural. Second, ironically, just this morning, there was an article in one of the trusted trades in the SEO world talking about the fact that Google is now showing how many reviews you've left in an area, which I thought was fascinating. I don't know if you saw that this morning. So now what they're trying to do is prevent the paid reviewer who's reviewing crap all over the country, wherever they're paid $1, and saying, okay, no, you're really in New Haven. This person's reviewed 17 things in New Haven. It's more likely that that's real than the guy who's reviewing the Jiffy Lube in Denver and the Gap in Tulsa. It's like where somebody's actually so again, I think that you have a couple different factors. Now, one that people don't talk about is what's the review number at? Assume you're at a 4.84950, right? Ideally 4, right? So first, assuming you have decent numbers, this is a real issue. And I use John Fisher as my case in point. I don't think you mind me talking about this, but this is a guy who has like 500 reviews or something in upstate New York. It crushes everything by an order of magnitude. I begged him, please stop with the reviews there. I think I may have had this. I can't remember if it was Mario Godoy or somebody else. Start building them in Manhattan. Imagine if he gets his next 500 in Manhattan.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
Right. And he could eventually have, for medical malpractice and things like that are not as competitive in New York, you could actually have a real foothold. So I think that, once you get to a number, now yours is a little bit different. So there are a lot of people that dominate a space. And my point was, stop. Let's now diversify around, right? And that once you if you look at it, then it's an easier question to me, because if your closest competitor has 300 and you have 500, you want to keep an eye on it. But having 5, 6, 7 isn't going to make a difference. There's some people that have 500, their next one has like 75. Stop the insanity and diversify. Second, let's say it's close and you have the most, but it's only by 100, 200. You want to keep an eye on that and maybe sprinkle something once in a while. Yours is I think, the most difficult of the questions, as why you asked it, in the sense that there's no right or magic answer. Part of it is what makes more money. I would say to you, the only reason to double down on the main office and try to compete with that and maybe add enough to be in that world is what is coming up on a statewide search. So that's the one piece, because normally I like what you did. Right? I want you to spread the reviews out statewide, because you're going to make more money if you dominate all but one place. Right? You already dominate the state, but yes, this one crazy guy who does traffic tickets can, in volume is beating you. Right? And yet you have your criminal practice, which isn't nearly, because Mr. Speeding Ticket got tons more reviews.
Right, exactly. I mean, I could fold those in if I wanted to.
Nobody cares about saying they got a speeding ticket. They don't really want to talk about the sex crime you got them off, or the DUI they got them off. So what I would say is I applaud what you've done and stick with it, unless that main office is what comes up on a statewide search and the other statewide searchers have it. And that's the one place that I think you have to be careful, is that there are times that you can win the statewide search. Although, frankly, I have found the statewide search does not make you nearly as much money as the local search. There's a reason that Google keeps showing the local piece. So I would say stay the course, unless when you're experimenting and doing incognitos in different parts of the state, you have a location that's showing statewide really well, and that you're not competing against other people with a large number. And part of it is punt on that one office. Who cares? Get the rest of the geography with a meaningful number of reviews, because of the proximity update that hit November, December 21. It's going to do you more good. I'll show you one. It literally hit this morning. It's funny how you bring this up, and I wasn't even thinking this way. We dominate for criminal in the DC DMV. In DC specifically, criminal does well everywhere. It's such a strong, powerful profile. DUI with our main, with our single NAP in location in DC is doing well on one side of the city, but on the other side of the city, which is a wealthier side of the city, there is much less visibility in the 3-pack. I don't really want to have a second location in DC, but I have an attorney in my DC office whose listing is suppressed because you can't get two in the same building. So I'm like, okay, I have an asset with 100 reviews on one side,
and nobody can see it.
Nobody can see it, and it's an old one. It's 10. The guy's been with me 10, 11, 12 years. He's an amazing lawyer. Should I be moving that to the other side of town? I know in Connecticut, you're like, no problem. In DC, it's sort of like I would, do I get ourselves an office on the other side of town? The right answer is yes. You're like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you not doing this? And the answer is I should probably do it. I think at one point we did when I had a secondary office on the other side of town, and I never went back to find a place that could go. But that's a great example. I can get the heat maps potentially to show you that we're missing a bunch of location, which would go to, you know what? Be in play. And is your competitor with all those high reviews? Are they 5 stars? Are they like a 4.8, 4.7?
They're 5 stars. I mean, it's our mutual friend. I mean, okay. That's my main competitor in the space. One of Seth's fraternity brothers is my main competitor in the space. We get along. I mean,
but he's not by your home office. That's just one of your satellites.
Yeah, I actually moved that satellite away.
So it's a good academic. You're not taking him on. Give him his space, and then you'll get your other space. Which is why I thought you'd make more money together than apart.
Right. So that's what we've done. We've actually moved away from trying to compete head to head because I can't keep up with his review count in that local area because he's getting local people with local reviews, and we've got.
The irony of this story is he probably sends you most of the DUIs because he focuses on another area of law primarily.
So it's all working out. It's all working out fine. I mean, that's the thing. We're heading into the end of the year, and that's a great time. Unless you're really firing on all cylinders, take some time, maybe change your perspective, call your office or have somebody call your office and do a sales call where they shop you and make sure that you're getting they're getting added to your mailing list and following up and all those things. Be part of that conversation. Make sure. I mean, even if you're a solo with somebody, you've outsourced your answering of your phones. It's wise to have somebody check on that to make sure that it's being done in the manner in which you told them to do it. Right, Seth? I mean, this is the time as the holidays come and you've got some downtime.
Well, look, any time is a good time. This is the logical time. Again, thinking about when you have made money. Are you, we historically have tried to prepay rent towards the end of the year. Anything you do, if you got the cash, why not, why not take some expenses now?
Yeah, I mean, buy Amazon and Apple gift cards because we know we're going to use them all year. So we'll get that off the books.
A lot of people sort of prepay Blue Shark. It's like the idea is anything rent, marketing, anything you can get into that calendar year, your account will thank you. Absolutely. I'll say one thing about the secret shopping that made me think as we sort of wrap up was a funny story. I think you maybe were here. May have been Hanel or David Hanel, one of a friend of the show. If you make your secret shopping calls, put a little bit of thought into them that they aren't. Because remember, I don't know if you remember, we made a secret shopping call. It was a terrible experience. Like the guy basically gave him a short shrift, and it was like, what the fuck? The guy came upstairs to the office when we were all under the roof, and he's like, I knew it was crap. Meaning it was. Make sure that when you do them, that it comes in the regular cadence. If you've never listened to any of your recorded calls and don't know what a call list sounds like, the odds of you being able to make a call that sounds people, in your intake as they get good, they get very savvy as to what nonsense is. So if you're going to do them, make sure that it sounds like a real call and not one that they're like, I don't know what's going on, but this is not real.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to end it for this show. I'm actually getting off the call with you, Seth, and heading into the Firmplex offices. We're actually launching a new product this week. It's been in beta for a while. but it's our social super system that we've been working on. My brother did some really good tinkering behind the hoods, and we actually set it up where everybody who wants to try it out can get a free trial. So 14 days of social media marketing free if you sign up at bigfirmflex.com. So I wanted to put that out there for people who might be listening, something that they're interested in. So definitely check out the website and see if it's something that interests you. And we also have, as we end here, we put a whole thing of ebooks people can license from us. PI, criminal and family law. So if you're in the market for ebooks and you want to purchase some and get them out there, you can. So I just wanted to put that out there for people because there's some exciting times going on at FirmFlex, and I wanted to share that.
Awesome. Can't wait. I'll have my guys beta test it. Look forward to it. Have a great week, and I will see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you much. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you here live every Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. And of course, you can download the Law Firm Blueprint podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I am Jay Ruane. He is Seth J. Price, and we are the Law Firm Blueprint. Bye for now.